Hey guys, Rich here. So I've got my CRF 450L set up for a little bit of bike camping, and this is kind of just a test fitment of the bags. I've got a little maintenance I've got to do on this bike before I can really pack, so this stuff is actually going to have to come back off. But I am super happy with the setup, and I'm going to do a separate video on the setup when I come back after I've gotten the opportunity to ride with it and see how it feels. But real, just a quick view. I added the giant loop Mojavi, as well as this Sea to Summit roll top oval bag. The reason I wanted an oval here and why I didn't run a roll top bag there before is I didn't want to give up seat space. With this bag, I still have 6 to 8 inches of room on the seat to be able to move back and forth, which I think is super important. I know some people load their bikes up with a tank bag and bags behind them to the point where there's just enough room for them to sit. I really like to be able to move back and forth on the seat a bit, especially on a longer trip. But this video is actually about maintenance. There's 2 things I've got to do before I head out on this trip. Number 1 is to replace this chain. And this chain does not have very many miles on it. I've been real busy this summer, traveled a lot for work, and have not gotten to ride as much as I would have liked. This chain only has 1,600 miles on it. This is the original chain. And probably at about, I don't know, maybe the 1,000-mile mark, it really stiffened up in a lot of places. And I keep this chain lubed with like a Teflon wax type lubricant on the outside. So there's no surface rust or anything, but I guess stuff just got in the links. Probably on the trip I do to Jersey, it's a lot of sand, and I don't know. But there's numerous spots on this chain that are very stiff, that the O-rings, I've just noticed recently, the O-rings are actually coming out. So I found bits of rubber on several links of the chain, and you can see there's like extra space in some of the, I don't know if you can, yeah, I'm not sure the exact spots on the chain, but there's places where the chain is now loose because the O-rings are not in there. And what was happening was, the reason I noticed it on the highway, heading back from the last trip I did, I was getting sort of weird, at higher speeds, like so 60 miles an hour plus, I was getting sort of shaking in the back, and I wasn't sure what it was, and a friend of mine pointed out that the chain was shaking kind of all over the place. And it was not out of adjustment. The adjustment was correct, but there were several spots on the chain that were super stiff. So as it was coming around, those stiff points were basically causing it to, I guess you could say, kind of be off balance, and it was shaking very violently. I did get it to loosen up. We pulled over and we dumped motor oil all over it, and I worked several spots and got it to loosen up some. And it's been a bit better, but I know I've needed to replace it. There's several spots on the chain where I picked rubber O-rings out of it that were just kind of hanging off like whiskers. So that's gonna get replaced. I also need to do an oil change in this bike, and this is a bit of an experiment. I've intentionally waited to do the oil change up to approximately the 1,000 mark since the last time I did it. Let's see what's on the clock. Exactly. Okay, so I've got 1,544 miles on this bike. And the last time I did an oil change was at 556 miles. So I'm almost at exactly 1,000 miles. Now, that was on purpose. I've not been, lazy or neglecting the bike. I've intentionally waited 1,000 miles to see what the oil looks like. And I may send it out for an oil analysis as well. Comment below if you'd like to see that. I looked, and it's probably going to cost about 40 bucks or so from Blackstone Labs, with the additional test that looks at the I forget what they're called, but the modifiers in the oil, that once they're all gone, you should not really be using the oil. And this bike does not hold much oil. That's sort of the thing here. 1.22 quarts is really not much for a 450. So the concern is, is that enough oil capacity to stretch your oil changes, 1,000 miles or more? By the way, these are maintenance sheets that I made up in Excel years ago. I use these for almost everything. I have one of these for all my cars, everything down to like my gas generator and my bikes. Makes it real easy to, look up common torque settings, tire sizes, part numbers for frequent parts, the frequency, all that kind of stuff. I'll post this. I'll post this somewhere and link it down in the doobly-doo here down below. But please comment below. Let me know if you'd like to see me send the oil out from this guy for oil analysis. And this is the chain I'm going to be putting on. I ran a DID 520 VX2 on my WR 250R, and that bike still has that chain on it. That chain is done. The trip that toasted the chain on that bike, I think that chain's done that trip 2 or 3 times now, and has seen several thousand miles of street use and hasn't skipped a beat. The VX3 is the improved version of the VX2, I guess. I actually wanted the gold version. I think the gold version of this chain looks cool. That's what I had on my WR, but beggars can't be choosers. I needed one specifically. I did kind of procrastinate ordering the stuff I needed for this trip, and this is the only one that Amazon had for 2-day delivery. So this guy's going to go on the bike. I'm going to get the oil changed, and after this trip I will be posting another video of what I think of this bag setup. I'm super excited about it. Again, the issue I had with the last trip was I had another big roll top bag stacked on top of this guy, and this bag kind of up like at an angle here. And the bike was definitely quite top heavy, and it's a lot of weight to have sitting out on the subframe. With this setup, and here, let me come around, you can see the base of this bag better. See, it's an oval shaped bag. And this is waterproof. Giant Loop does not list their Mojavi bags as waterproof. They list them as water resistant, and I can see why. Because you've got fairly large zippers that face forward, but they are those types of zippers that have sort of that almost sealed look to them. So, I don't think I certainly wouldn't expect stuff to be dry if I, drop this bike into a hole and these are submerged. And I wouldn't expect my stuff to stay dry in here if I was on the street for hours riding in torrential rain. But given these zippers are actually kind of sit behind where my legs are on the bike, I'm willing to bet just general riding, going through a couple rainstorms here and there, that your stuff in these is probably still going to be pretty dry. It's that laminated, thick material, the same as what the high-end dry bags are made of. And I'm excited about these because I'm putting the heavy stuff down in these to keep the weight a lot lower on the bike. So if I get this guy open, it's a little bit tricky with the bag on top here. What I've got test fit in here is, this is a 1 liter Nalgene, and that basically just takes up sort of the bottom portion. Set this guy down. It takes up like this bottom portion of the bag. So, and these are, filled up with 1 liter of water. These guys are not light, but that gets the heaviest part of my gear down at the bottom. I'll have a 1 liter Nalgene bottle in the bottom of each one of these, and that'll be for drinking. That'll be for cooking, anything I need on this trip. And that still leaves the whole upper portion of the bag for other stuff. So I'll probably have my white gas fuel for my MSR stove also in one of these. That bottle's kind of heavy. And any food items or just anything else that's heavy. I'll get all my heavy, I'll fill up the Mojavi bags with all my heavy stuff first, and then this already has all my camping gear in it. As in, I think this is the sleeping bag down here. I have one of those sort of like single thin air mattress things here, and then there is one of those camp pillows up here, along with I think a pillowcase in there or something. And then in the box, since it's fairly light, is my Lynx 1-person tent, my actual camp stove, and a couple just other lighter things. And this is my tail bag, is the bag that I always have on the bike, that has my tools and just other everyday type stuff in it. And this is all. It looks like a complex setup, but this all comes off the bike in about probably 30 seconds, and takes about a minute and a half to get back on. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, comment below if you'd like to see that oil analysis done at 1,000 miles on the clock. And it is, I would say it's a true 50-50 mix of off-road and street. and I'll post a follow-up with how this bag setup worked out. Thanks, guys.